Hello, everyone. Mr. Kirschnick here with another story. This one is called Cat-tastrophe. Here we go. Chapter 1, The Wish. Abby loved cats. She loved cats so much that when she was walking to school one day and found a genie's lamp, she knew exactly what she would wish for when the genie popped out. Cats, Abby shouted. I want all of the cats. The genie smiled and snapped his fingers. Your wish is my command, master, he said. Suddenly, there was a rumbling noise behind Abby. She slowly turned around and gasped. Coming towards her was an enormous number of cats. Now, when you read enormous, you probably thought of 100 or maybe even 1,000 cats. No. What Abby saw coming towards her was easily over 1,000,000 cats. Panicking, Abby turned to the genie and asked, "What's going on?" The genie smiled and replied, "You asked for all of the cats, so I gave you all of the cats." Chapter 2, Nowhere to Run. The giant mob of cats approached Abby and began jumping all over her. "I have to get out of here," Abby screamed. "There are too many of them. This is a cat-tastrophe." Abby ran as fast as she could to her school, jumped inside, and slammed the doors behind her. "Phew," she said to herself. "Are you okay?" Mr. Kirschnick, Abby's teacher, asked her. Before Abby could answer, the entire school began to rumble. "What's going on?" Mr. Kirschnick shouted as the school windows shattered and hundreds of cats began pouring into the school. "Meow," one cat screeched as it scratched Mr. Kirschnick's leg. "This is a cat-tastrophe," Mr. Kirschnick screamed as he was pulled down into a sea of cats. "I have to get out of here," Abby said, and she ran upstairs to her classroom. As soon as she entered the class, she slammed the door behind her and said, "Phew." Abby's friends looked at her with confused expressions. "What's going on?" her friend Nevaeh asked. "Did something happen downstairs?" her friend Avery asked. "What's that noise?" her friend Jamie asked. Before Abby could say a word, the window on the classroom door exploded and hundreds of cats began pouring into the room. Everyone screamed, and Abby had a terrifying realization. They were on the top floor of the school, and the room was beginning to fill with hundreds and hundreds of cats, which meant that there was nowhere to run. Chapter 3, The Genie. "How is this happening?" Nevaeh shouted over the hundreds of meows and hisses. "I found a lamp on my way to school, and a genie came out of it," Abby explained. "I wished for all of the cats, and this is what happened." "Are you serious?" Avery said. "If we don't get out of here soon, we're going to drown in cats," Jamie shouted. Abby looked around. They were now neck deep in cats. "I have to get back to that genie and wish for these cats to leave me alone," she told the others. "Follow me." Abby made her way through the sea of cats and grabbed one of the classroom chairs. She lifted it over her head and threw it through the window, smashing it. Then, as the cats began pouring out of the window, she turned to her friends and said, "Let's go." Abby and her friends slid down the waterfall of cats that was gushing out of the second floor window of the school. When they reached the ground, Abby broke into a run and said, "This way!" Abby led her friends across town towards the street where she had found the genie's lamp. However, the streets were now covered in cats, and the four of them had to use all of their strength to push through, because they were up to their waists in cats. "We aren't going to make it," Nevaeh said. "There are too many cats." "I think one just scratched me," Avery shouted. "This is a cat-tastrophe," Jamie screamed. "Don't give up," Abby told her friends. "We can do this, just a little farther." They came to the street where Abby had found the lamp. but there were simply too many cats to see where it went. And more cats were joining the crowd every second. They searched and searched, but it was no use. The lamp was gone. Chapter 4, Another Wish. Abby and her friends looked up and saw a 1,000-foot tall tidal wave of cats moving towards them. "What do we do?" Nevaeh shouted. "That thing is heading right for us," Avery screamed. "We'll be crushed," Jamie said. "Genie!" Abby bellowed with all of her might. "Wherever you are, please hear me. I wish for all of these cats to leave me alone." Abby looked up and saw that the tidal wave of cats was coming crashing down on them. She screamed, but just when it was about to hit them, the cats stopped. Seconds later, the cats turned and simply walked away. A few minutes after that, the streets were empty and the cats were all gone. "You did it," Nevaeh said. "They're gone," Avery shouted. "Hooray!" Jamie cheered. The 4 girls walked back to school, brushing a horrifying amount of cat hair off their clothes. When they got to school, they went back up to their classroom, but their teacher wasn't there. "Oh no," Abby said. "I hope he wasn't hurt. The last time I saw him, he was sucked into a sea of cats." "Don't worry," a voice said. "I'm okay." Abby turned to see Mr. Kirschnick standing in the doorway, and she breathed a sigh of relief. "What happened?" Abby asked. "I was carried away by a sea of cats," Mr. Kirschnick explained. "I was really scared, but then all of a sudden, they just left. It was a miracle." Abby noticed that Mr. Kirschnick was holding something behind his back. "What's that?" she asked. "That's the best part," Mr. Kirschnick replied. "When the cats finally left, I saw a lamp on the ground." Abby's heart began beating faster, and she asked, "You didn't wish for anything when you picked it up, did you?" "No," Mr. Kirschnick replied. Abby breathed another sigh of relief. "At least, not when I first picked it up," Mr. Kirschnick continued. "However, just before I came into the room, I rubbed the lamp and a genie came out. And get this, you know how much I love dogs, right? Well, I wished for all of the dogs." Abby and her friends looked at each other in terror as the school began to rumble. The end. And there you go. That was Cat-tastrophe. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're looking forward to more stories. In the meantime, have fun writing stories of your own. See you next time.